So I will call this meeting to order today at 12:05. Welcome, everybody.
I have a, it's like 12:09 on.
It's my watch. Or 9. We're 12:09. Watch is fixed. So we'll do a quick attendance and roll call.
Harp,
Here.
Corey, here, Ellis,
Here.
Fellows, here, Geesey, Malone.
Then the next item, committee elections. So we need to do the elections since we lost our chair and that's no comment. Dave, you were, I will miss Dave. He was very much active part of this, extremely active. So wish him the best. So we will need to do an or.
So we'll do two separate motions, elections for chair. And then we'll do motions, and then once that's finalized, then the same process for the chair.
So we need to have a conversation who the chair is.
So should we make Jill since she's not here?
I know. We're Jeremy.
Yeah.
Come back to this first meeting. Congratulations,
I
Chair.
think you also need a separate motion to set the term.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Was that mentioned in the email?
So-
Term limits?
No, so basically it sounds like it's, and Logan could correct me if I get out of line, but for this committee, it's based on whatever the committee recommends for those terms.
And Jill is now here. Jill, we're here just talking the elections at this point. So we just,
I'm sorry, say again.
we're looking at the elections for the
Okay.
chair and co-chair.
Excellent.
We just started. So
We were just about to name.
yeah.
No, I'm glad I showed.
So we can.
Do you want to set the term first?
Yeah, there's an order of operation that could be wrong on the page, but.
So Logan, could it be the motion, like for chair, could it be the motion as chair for a year term? Or
Yeah, so our language in Boise City Code is just for such a term as the committee shall designate, so you guys get to decide if you want it to be a year or two or however long. So you could wrap that into one motion.
Question, are the term limits set at 4 years for us?
for the,
Yes.
yeah, correct.
Okay.
Participation on
I'm open for discussion, but I'm good for 1 year terms at this point. We can discuss again next year if things out there. Change that. I don't know if anybody's jumping to the chair at this point. So I think the less 1 year minimum seems to be. Yeah. Motion to set term the chair.
I'd like to move that we set the term for the chair for the Development Impact Fee Committee at 1 year.
I'll second that. Thank you. Any discussion on that?
What was it before? There was no, it was like indefinite.
It was just Dave.
Just Dan.
I do recall doing another
We
election at
had
some.
elections.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did.
We just kept it to what it was. Dave always volunteered to be the chair. It's very quickly to go through.
Thank you.
Okay, do we need to name names, all in favor?
Sorry, one question. So is it, do we have a specific date we actually want to set it from to have terms begin if
Start of fiscal
we
year.
have fiscal year and then from there on, because if people come and go, then that's gonna keep,
And the one object too is we don't meet every single time, like how we missed
Yeah,
yeah.
February,
yeah.
so is it set for a term of at least a year? And then that way it's just like, all right, we were in our 13-month anniversary, we vote on it again.
Can I revise the motion?
Well, yeah, so is at least a year, is that like specific enough? I'm looking at you back in the back here.
City code just says, as the committee designates, so you're given pretty broad
So if
discretion.
you said a year today, basically, we would track it and then a year from today in the March meeting.
Somebody would have
And
to
if
show
there
up.
isn't a March meeting.
And-
do it next month.
And when are our terms? Do we all expire at different times? And is it based on the fiscal year or,
It's just whenever the appointment was made.
I see, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So there really isn't timetables for everybody.
got it, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So sorry to interrupt, but the mayor stopped by just to say hi.
Should we all stand?
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Good.
Thank you. So you're talking about what election chairs?
The
chair.
Chair, chair.
Yeah,
And then, there's spots that are open that we got to.
Yes, there are, what, three open seats? Three open seats, I believe.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to come through and say hi. I have, certificates to give everybody for, I want everybody to have some like career service, to make it feel a little bit more official, maybe, I don't know. But I'm Laura McLean and I want to say thank you for all the work that you all do. This is like a committee that is so important to the fundamentals of getting it right in Boise, but that nobody really gives credit to or pays attention to, and it's really hard work that you're doing, and the role that you play for our city is second to none. Just really appreciate the time and attention that everybody gives to this work. I have been visiting commissions as I can, but really we've been doing so much work lately on what's next for Boise, because what I heard throughout the election was that folks really want us to keep plugging along on housing and love our parks and want to see libraries not impact the overall. And that there's an expectation that we continue to do the basics, but then more as well to keep the city the city she is. And we can only do that with you all and other volunteers in the city, so it means a lot. And this one, the council is becoming more and more interested in how this stuff works, because they all want to see all these things in their districts. And so we're starting to do kind of 101s, if you will, on different things, and we probably need to do an impact one at some point very soon. Because, there's this like deep desire to have the park immediately. And so last week or 2 weeks ago, we went through how a park becomes a park and tried to talk through how that works, right? It's not just the buying and suddenly you have a park, but waiting for the impact fees and different pieces. And in the last couple of years, I really appreciate that you all have worked hard and recommended a couple changes to reflect the realities on the ground, so that we can do what we've set out to do in terms of investing in parks. So thank you for that. That was all I had. I'd love to give you time to answer any questions, take any feedback, folks might have. I've got a couple minutes. Michael Ellis.
We should applaud them.
Urban. Jeremy's not here and Tony.
Away from my phone.
Yeah.
very official.
Very official. Yeah,
That's cool.
Thank you very much.
thank you. What's on your agenda today?
It's actually a big meeting today. We got,
Can I nominate
Again.
the mayor for chair?
You're gonna review.
Yeah.
yeah, this is actually
This is what the changes for inflation. will be for next year.
Oh, great.
I remember another is probably the most time intensive and the most.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm all about
And that's coming from the guy that created.
Index and adjustments.
increasing a budget again. We do that a lot. Prices keep going up.
Figuring out how we can pay for fire station.
Yeah, we're ready to break ground on that one.
Right, we're signing the contract, so we, the IBC, next month, so we're taking out discussion of what the next meeting will be in this meeting and recommendation.
Well, and I'll just go ahead and invite you, you know, if we haven't done this, we should, when we do these groundbreakings or celebrations for the things that are tied to impact fees as well, it'd be great. You're always welcome to come join in that and be acknowledged because it's a big piece of the puzzle.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, well, I'll let you guys get back to your business.
Awesome.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Ricky.
very-
Really, thank you all
awesome.
very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for the certificate.
Thank you. See you soon.
So going back to the terms, I think I would be happy with the 1 year, but it's obviously gonna be open to when a meeting is gonna be held. So if it's next March, if the meeting, we don't have anything on the agenda but this, we don't hold a meeting, then we would look at it in April. Back in.
So could we structure the language to be a term of 1 year or until the next available meeting?
And I would say too, for the discussion, once y'all figure out the term component, you don't make a motion for that verbiage, just put that in the motion when you have that person.
Yeah, one big lump motion.
Yeah.
That works. So then that would bring up the discussion, and who wants to be chair?
Good. Can I make a motion to nominate Tony?
What? I don't wanna ask second until then.
It'd be okay.
I second that.
Gee, it's 1 year.
Any discussions?
So you gotta do the full,
And
you
then, okay, yeah. a
gotta do
motion.
the full term and motion, everything.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I gotta say it all.
We need a whiteboard.
Motion to nominate Tony Pori as chair of the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee for a term of 1 year and or until the next Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee meeting, if such time we don't meet on the 1 year mark. Okay. Not a,
Smooth that out a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe. I second that.
Second motion, all right, any discussion? I have a question, once he's chair, you gonna take over this meeting now? Alright, so then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Motion passes. Okay, so we will.
Yay!
And going on to co-chair, which I currently am, I'm happy to do it again, all will be, no problem filling in when Tony will not be here to run these meetings.
That's the next
That works. It's not a problem. So, try to make all these meetings if I can, but if anybody else wants to do it, welcome to do that. Yeah, of course, they do the same motion.
okay.
Can I make a motion? I move that Carmen Harp be nominated as our, it says co-chair, okay, as opposed to my chair, co-chair for the Development Impact Fee Committee for a term of 1 year, for the meeting that comes directly after the 1 year.
Can I get a second to that motion?
Second.
Are we talking loud enough so you can hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did whisper that one a little bit. Any discussion on this? Say I'm happy to do it. So,
Thanks for your service.
no problem. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Alright, let's rolling with that. Okay, then we'll move on to the new business, which is our minutes from December 13th meeting. Yeah. So hopefully everybody had a chance to review those minutes and look at them. We'll ask for a motion to approve, or if there's any changes that need to be made.
It looked accurate to me.
Don't know if that's quite the motion we want.
Motion to approve the minutes from December 2023.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we run into the fun stuff. FY23 impact fee annual report.
Sorry that we were getting to it a little bit later than usual. I was sick last month, which is why we had to postpone the meeting at the last minute, so I
I think a
apologize.
lot of people were saying.
There's been a lot of signals.
Yeah.
Yes, I was actually healthy by that Wednesday, but the presentation had suffered in my end. So just to kind of recap in what happened in 23, it's all detailed in the memo that I sent out. It was originally sent out for the February meeting, and there was a few tweaks, just verbiage cleanup for this meeting. But really, the highlight is, we went from, we had a substantial increase in fees in 23, but that was largely attributable to the increase that was part of the 22 impact fee study update. So, we went from 4.1 to 7.2. 7.2, which was the actual revenues for 23, was below what we had budgeted. Basically, we looked at the budget and just said, all right, we're gonna get our 10-year plan, we're gonna get a tenth of it in 1 year, and that proved to be a little too aggressive. So I think where the budget's set for 24, I think is actually in a pretty good spot based on where we are year to date. Collections are roughly in line with where we were last year. Obviously, last year we got to 7.2 million. So, it's hard to really know what the seasonality is going to be of these fees. I'll talk about it when we get to parts, but there was one project in 1 month that tossed in about 600 grand of just park fees. So, it can be tremendously lumpy, and trying to annualize based on any point in the year is difficult, but hopefully we'll be closer to budget than we have in the last couple of years. And then on, just real quick, kind of just what's kind of behind our revenue is building permits effectively. And so one of the real trends that we saw is, although permits are up, and these are actually units. So the permitted number of units is up. That was entirely attributable to multifamily. So you had multifamily, I think it was up about 350, but at the same time, single family was down about 100, 109, I think is actually what it was. So that's good from a housing perspective, less optimal from an impact fee perspective. There's a lot of the downtown, there's no local park fee, and it's only, I think, 0.93 is where we ended up for the number of people per unit.
I think it would be good from a housing perspective if the permits for single family were higher. Right, it's great that there's more multifamily, we also need more single family.
Oh, right, yeah, I'm not arguing that, just more units though, I think in aggregate is good, is all I was trying to say. And the other thing too is, and I think it's probably too early to actually be seeing this in the data, but how much of this will be changed in the future by the modern zoning code that was passed last year, it was encouraging dense development. Not necessarily the downtown core necessarily, but just smaller, more condensed development. So it'll be interesting to see what that means, not necessarily the unit counts, but the fees.
Travis, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
You were alluding to some units that may not be eligible for impact fees.
Oh, sorry, maybe I spoke too quickly. I was just saying that there's no local park fees for in the downtown core.
Okay,
So you're collecting regional dollars, but you miss out on that.
I got you,
that
thank you.
local park. Which is fine because there's no local parks down there, but the downside is it also affects where you're coming relative to budget.
What was that last?
Sorry, skip through this one. So this is just trying to lay out where we were in terms of the number of units that were permitted on a year-over-year basis. And so you can see that, by the time we got to September, we started seeing a lot more as opposed to there's a slow start to the year.
Enthusiasm in 2020, end of 2023.
Right, and that's largely continued. I think February wasn't a great month. January wasn't a great month in terms of permits or impact fees, but in general, we're tracking what we were last year, so, yeah.
Point of
Seasonality is-
clarification, the colors are not indicative of the previous slide. Okay.
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah, so unfortunately, we work with the same palette,
yeah,
color palette.
that's fine.
These are years, the other ones are
Yeah.
multi-family.
Very Boise State.
Thanks for that.
I also have a question. Is this cumulative each month or is this actual permits per month?
That's cumulative throughout the month, or throughout the year. So sorry, get you to.
So January really wasn't as low as, January is gonna be January. So February, January plus February. Right, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And you can see, because if you look at the total, you
Yes,
know,
yeah.
it's just roughly the same total, right, the 2,200-ish. So just circling back to revenues real quickly, as you know, as we, sorry, let me pull my notes. As I mentioned previously, the fees were less than budget, which it might be confusing in the graph, but the budget is the column at the far right, and that'll be the same through the other slides that I'm going to present. But you can see again the dramatic increase, largely due to the change in the regime, if you will. But again, below budget. I'm not going to tell you, why that is. I mean, you're in a much better position to know exactly what's going on. But I mean, it's interest rates, and at the beginning of the year, I think there was a lot of uncertainty about what was in store.
Elders were freaked out.
And I just get into a little bit on 24. The budget is set more reasonably. I think that's very achievable. What if I can find it? Yes. And I guess the one question that it posed, and sorry to build in a question in my presentation to you, but if there's any thoughts that you all have in terms of outlook for 25, I realize it's hard to say what's ahead a couple months, let alone 6 to 18 months. But it probably would be more relevant, like if Jeremy were here too, to add more context and see in the market. But Jill, I don't know if you have crystal ball.
Would you like me to look at my crystal
Yes.
ball, my realtor crystal ball? I mean, I think that we're probably going to see a steady increase in pricing, a steady increase in permits likely. Overall in the country, I just got back from the Keller Williams annual conference. They're like, winter is here, I mean, everybody I've talked to around the country is pretty slow. I'm not slow, so I think here in Boise, we are a little bit, people still wanna move here. So I think that we'll continue to see that be the case. Interest rates are settling out of it. We're being, sort of, they're telling us they're going to reduce interest rates. So that may affect things, may cause things to kind of start peaking up again. I think we need more houses. There's not enough inventory. So that's really our challenge, is inventory. So that's gonna keep prices from declining because the inventory is so low. So build more houses.
Yeah.
And I think the zoning code is going to be helpful because it will allow for more infill and more options for people.
I think the only other thing, by the way, thank you for that. Sorry to put you on the spot. But,
That's all right.
it's just interesting to see that people with that front row view what's happening. I think the only other thing I'd point out is that there was only one category within all of the impact fees that actually came in ahead of budget. I'll talk to that in a second, which is the Southeast Barber Valley fees.
You say category, you can here.
Sorry, just in terms of like either local park, regional park, police or fire.
Okay.
Just large little funds within the impact fees. Which is why there's the, you know, kind of unique shading on that 23 column for southeast. Just to show it the only one that came budget. But overall, you know, parks collected 4 million, up significantly from 22, but off of, you know, about $1 million shy of what we budgeted. Oh, and I think the one thing that's worth pointing out is, and I alluded to it earlier, is that one, I mean, it was several permits, but there was one project for the Canyon Ridge Apartments out in Barber Valley. And that was almost 600,000 fees. To one development.
Really, there's so many
Canyon
places in
Ridge.
Boise now that we can't build. It's,
Right.
that would be southeast, which is filling up.
Right,
It's
and
pointed, so
it's, you know, last year at this time, I think we were at 70 grand or so of collections for Southeast, and now we're at 200. So I mean, but again, you know, all you need is that one or not having the one to really put you above or below budget.
And I would think anecdotally, after Southeast finishes its buildup, which is going to happen in the next few years, imagine, talking anecdotally, then it would be Southwest. Which would actually have area to grow.
Yeah.
Sorry, start. Yeah, just start. Outside, once Southwest fills up, we're kind of,
Then it's infill.
we're filling up, it's gonna be a slower process all around. So,
We don't see any annexation of any other area of impact.
So I don't know if you so there was a whole council meeting on this, I believe it was last Tuesday. And when it comes to annexation, I admittedly try not to get involved because it's, from a budget perspective, it's very complicated. It's something else I don't need on my plate, but I know there was a lot of discussion about that related to the Mercurio site in particular.
Area farms.
Yeah, that area. Again, I believe that at that point, there was no chance to annex, and I think that was nothing changed in that.
Oh, really?
That was one thing that Mayor Peter talked to me about in my find out if Jill's crazy before I appoint her meeting that I had with him way back when I was first appointed, was about annexing. So it's been a topic for quite some time, a little bit of a third rail topic, I think.
It very much is, I think that's why, again, I believe that was the outcome from council, but I did not watch the meeting, so I just heard through the grapevine what came up, but. So again, you know, just the outperformance of Southeast Barber Valley relative to the others. So looking at what we did in 23, so Hawkins Range, that was really just, at that point, it was just a few cleanup items, but it actually opened last fiscal year. The restroom in Julia Davis was, after what, 5 years of planning, something like that. Finally, we were able to get that one done, so thank you, Sarah and team.
but I recall, it was an expensive bath.
It's a bathroom and a pavilion. So yes, it was over $1 million on this side for the restrooms on that side of the large park. So it's a beautiful facility. If you haven't had a chance to go take a look, I highly recommend it. It's right by the Children's Cancer Memorial. Oh, cool.
Parks Fleet, Parks Maintenance relocation, which is still just in planning. You know, a few impact fee dollars have gone towards that. There's not a lot allocated overall relative to the overall size of the project. Spalding Ranch is ongoing. There's plans for, I think, in 26 for additional community build out, specifically probably restrooms there. And there's a couple parks that are in red font. Those were budgeted in the year, but, and Sarah can probably talk more of this, they were ultimately deferred either because in the case of veterans, we did some planning work and it's gonna come back around be in the 25 budget. Others, or I think only were way a little bit longer, correct? So I guess moving on to the central bench, Franklin Park, kind of the same thing as Hawkins. A lot of the work I think was already done, it was just closed out. And there's a small IOU from the central bench impact fee fund to the capital fund of a couple thousand. North River, the two that are underway are Primrose and Stewart Gulch. Stewart Gulch is basically done, right? So I saw that the construction fencing went down, so it looks like it will be a park this summer.
Remind me where those two parks are.
Primrose is out off of Gary Lane.
Okay.
That's the lot that goes into the fire station.
Correct.
Yeah.
Next to a church parking lot, I believe. Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a synagogue, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
We took the tour.
Yeah, yeah,
of it,
I remember now, thank
yeah,
you, yeah.
And then Stewart Gulch is by Quail Hollow. Southeast, there was nothing that we were doing, we were just effectively at this point saving up for when we do get to Alta Harris, probably in 26. Molinar was also done, as well as Pine Grove.
I saw like social media, one of our parks was vandalized, it's Castle Hills, yeah, burned like that. So that's gonna be insurance money, not.
So, the insurance claim will not cover the replacement need. It's okay. Thankfully, we have a very supportive mayor and council who are in April going to be, considering a budget change, interim budget change to fund complete replacement of the playground. We did not want to simply replace the damaged features, which is what insurance would cover, because it would be sort of like a patch looking job.
Yeah.
And that playground, although it was only placed almost 10 years ago, it does not have accessible surfacing. So in our, in the design for that playground, it will be more inclusive and accessible. So, and like I said, council will weigh in on that budget.
And then looking to this year, it's largely a repeat of what you saw on the prior page. Parks is really focused on closing out projects. I think actually there was only really 2 new projects, and they weren't impact fee funded in the 2024 budget. So again, focusing on closing out existing projects, and we will be back next month to talk about what's in store for 2025.
And Travis, if I may, this was also in response to some of that turnover that we had talked about. We had a very limited capacity in 2024 to initiate projects, and so that was the strategic aim. Was, all right, we need to tighten our belt, focus on what we can get done, and then sort of regroup. So 25 will look more like what you've seen in the past.
Moving on to fire, same as the theme we've been talking about. It was significantly above 22, below budget. Really, there's not much to talk about on this one. We're going to get into it in a little bit on the only real use of these dollars right now is for Fire Station 13, both the engine and the facility itself. Police, same theme in terms of revenues. The micro district, I'm happy to report, was finally paid off. So I don't know how long that project was out there, but there was an IOU for a long time, so that's finally covered. And we'll also talk about this later as one of the agenda items, but police impact fees provide limited funding for Fire Station 13 because there's space for new offices. And here's a map that Parks was nice enough to put together, just showing where in aggregate the 23/24 projects were. You can see the one fire station fire project is out there too. That was it.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, we like pictures.
Well, it's nice to kind of visually see
Yeah.
how these dollars get allocated.
Yeah,
And, you know, especially given where we're discussing
can
districts
you go back to that?
on a council level. It really helps for new council members to see where is my district and what's going on inside of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, they are charged with managing the whole city, but of course, they're gonna get questions within their district.
Yeah, cool.
Alright.
I guess I have a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Just because we were off budget, and I'm sure we're gonna go through it. It didn't, we were well above 22.
Correct, it was really the fact that it was, the 23 budget was set, you know, effectively 2 years ago at this time. And it was kind of a black box of, all right, well, here's the total.
That was a crystal ball.
Projecting,
Yeah.
was that?
That was a crystal ball.
Yeah,
Right.
and mine obviously is a crack in it.
Well, I mean, I don't think very many people projected that interest rates were going to skyrocket in the middle of 2022, which caused builders to panic for a little while, right? Because those that survived 2008 are pretty sensitive to things changing, and so I think for a while, everybody pulled way back, and so when we were going, I'm not surprised that we didn't hit budget, because I was given, when you had to make those projections, that you didn't have the information that.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is how far off the budget we would have been if it were not for that one project.
Yeah. So do you see any large negative impacts from being off budget? As much as we were.
No, and ultimately, I mean, what it really impacts is on our planning. You know, we try to be conservative where we can be, so we don't start promising like a park to an area when, you know, we need to collect the impact fees before we build the park. So usually that's where it comes in, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, I highlighted Alta Harris on there, is like we're making sure that we're trying to build up the budget so we can get to that project as soon as we can. You know, and I think the only other thing I'd point out is on that, that one large fee that we got, that I was mentioning for, 600,000. That was just Southeast Barber Valley local park impact fee.
A portion of that, portion of their overall fee.
Right, so if you think of the overall impact fees that project generated, I don't have that stat handy, but not insignificant. At 3 acres or 5 acres, number of units of each, so.
Anybody have any other questions? I would ask for a motion to recommend that FY 23 impact fee in your report.
I recommend that I move that we recommend approval. I move that we approve the 2023 annual impact fee report.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we will be moving on to the impact fee annual index, FY 25. Inflationary.
So this is, I'll skip going with the we like pictures theme. I'll skip through this part to go right to the pictures. So the good news is you can see that inflation is certainly moderating. You know, we went from fee increase for 23 was 13.1, the current year was 9.4, and so based on inflation in the building cost index from ENR, the 2023, the calendar 2023 inflation that was actually reported was 3.8%. And so in keeping with past practice, that would be the recommendation from staff to increase the 2025 fees by that same amount of 3.8%. And this is the Tony graph. And, you know, you can see that it's moderated and it's held fairly constant for the last few months. I just actually checked it this month, and the preliminary March number for the index is identical to the February number, which, you know, no inflation on a month-over-month basis. Again, it's the preliminary number, but that seems like it's going in the right direction. But we'll also see too, right, if things like all the micron development is going to be coming down the line. You know, there's articles that have been out that it's going to put a real strain on construction. So we'll see if, you know, maybe the overall index continues to moderate, but Boise might see something different. And this is just a recap, you know, from a couple of years ago when we decided on the building cost index versus the construction cost index. As you can see from the prior slides, construction cost is, not significantly, but consistently lower. And that's just because the only real difference is the labor hours. The construction cost index has common labor, whereas it's skilled labor in the building cost index, which is more reflective of what we're seeing in our projects. As you're getting trained, you know, electricians, things like that to do the work. So I know I breezed through that, and I can go back and focus on any part that we want. I just figured you've heard the same spiel from me for 2 years now, so I can abbreviate it if that's helpful.
I did a great job abbreviating it.
I'll just talk to the pictures from now on. All my presentations are pictures. It's easy.
Perfect.
Otherwise, you're just reading words on a page. It's not too helpful.
I'm happy to see these guys. We know we have our. So you do a match that, we're coming back down to its normal levels.
Right.
It's good to see that we're getting back to normal, following what we're seeing in real life.
Correct. And it'll be interesting to see as we, you know, move forward over the next 6 to 12 months. You know, as I was referencing, what actually happened in Boise. It seems like,
Yeah.
which could be, you know, nationally it seems to be moderating, but what would my craft
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
We'll handle that when it happens.
do? Right, exactly.
What is the estimate of the new hires for?
Oh.
Building
Was that
plant.
Was it 3,000 people?
I forget what it is, but I mean, just the,
It's massive.
It's during our.
yeah, I know
Somebody posted
that,
on the North Bend Facebook page. They're like, Micron is gonna have 3,000 more people, where are they gonna live?
Una.
The desert was what I thought.
and I think just the impact fees, which was largely at industrial rates, and I don't know that they cater it, but I think it's come across the desk, I didn't review it, but I think it was over $1 million between police and fire, again, just for the, you know, warehouse spaces, and, you know, not even the office space, so.
I mean, that we move that we recommend the calendar year inflation adjustment of 3.8%.
Or FY 25.
Calendar year 2025.
Try to put as many fiscal years in there as possible.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
So this directly follows what we just did with 3.8%. You know, there was, when we did the impact fee study, we allowed $200 grand for parks vehicles for growth. So we've been inflating that amount. Basically, we've been taking a tenth of that amount every year, just inflating it by whatever the inflation adjustment is.
Scale factor.
Was that
Scale factor.
correct? Correct. So Last year, it was 29,000 and change, so this year will go up then 3.8% to 30,147. Questions? This spells out the exact amount, so that was the amount in 24, so we're just asking for an increase to the 30,000 change.
Can you go back to slides? Sure.
Sorry, just hitting on the one thing there, so the only thing I didn't really talk about was just what the vehicle is used for is just every year we're buying one-time vehicles for parks. Those have a estimated useful life that meets the criteria in the impact fee code, so that's what we budgeted for, and there's no magic to it, outside of the fact that it meets the definitions.
If I'm reading this right, we got 234,022, added 23,000.
Oh,
Well, it's divided, it's over 10-year period.
Okay.
And then adjusted for inflation for the last 2 years.
So basically, we're saying next year, Parks can spend $30,147.
On a one-time ride.
Okay.
Toward a one-time.
yeah, and it's actually,
Won't even buy you.
Yeah, and it doesn't buy you.
Kind of where I was
I will make a motion that we approve the equipment and vehicles increase for fiscal year 2025 as described.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Rolling through this.
should have pointed this out, there's a more helpful layout of how we get between the original 200 grand down to the 30,000 in the next item is we discussed a little bit before, we finally have numbers for Fire Station 13. If you recall, about a year ago, we had a preliminary discussion to see, based on what we thought was gonna be a $15 million budget. So this is what we talked about last year, last February, was taking the impact fees up from 11.4 to just under 13, and sharing that increase between police and fire. We have actually signed contracts now, and as I mentioned before, we're getting ready to take an IBC to council. We never did the interim budget change where we formally adopt a budget change. So we never did that last year based on the recommendation on a $15 million budget. We kept on waiting to get closer to having contracts and having a really finalized cost estimate. So the good news is that we made it. And so we were able to, even though inflation is something that we couldn't fight, we did a lot of value engineering to get the cost down to a total of 13.4.
Wow, we're going down.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I would still say it's still up from 12.9, but that 12.9 we put together, and that was in the 23 budget, we added most of that budget. So, over a couple of years, we've done a pretty good job of trying to keep it as close as we can to the initial estimate. So this kind of walks through what I'm recommending this go around as opposed to what we looked at last time. So the current budget is a total of 11.4 million between police and fire impact fees. You can see the split there. The original amount that was allocated to police was based on, we thought it was gonna be about 9-10% of the space at the station, is now closer to 5. So it makes sense to take that $1 million down to 5% of the revised project budget. So we'd be taking the impact fees, like I said, down about 360 grand for police. Fire would cover the rest of it, so that would increase 2.3 million, bringing the total to 12.7, and ultimately, at the end of the day, the entirety of the 13.4 million of station costs would be covered by impact fees, which was not the case in the last go round, just to be clear. But it is, it was one of the things that was laid out in the impact fee plan as 100% funded, so. I think especially when you account for inflation, I think it's, a pretty good, resolution. And, the other thing I would point out is it's actually a little bit behind what the inflationary adjustments have been. There was the 13.1 and 9.4, and this takes 7/8 of that last year of inflation to 9.4, so a little bit better than what just inflation would have projected.
So this looks like it's gonna take the fire balances negative for at least 1 year.
At least. So I was just looking at this, and it depends what, obviously, the collections look like over the next 18 months, but it's gonna be close to if we pay off at the end of 25 or at the beginning of 26. But yeah, it'll be an IOU for, probably at least a year and a half.
And that doesn't include equipment.
Right. No, I'm sorry, the payback would include.
Doesn't include, okay.
Hey, Travis,
Yes.
this is Romeo from Fire. Hey, I just wanted to add something quick for the commission, if you will. Groundbreaking for Station 13 is April 3rd at 9:30 in the morning out there on Bogart and State. So you are all invited and welcome to attend if you want. We're super excited about the station. If you haven't been by it, we do have fencing up for that station now. As well as some artistic kind of renderings of what the station will look like. So we are super excited in Fire to get that station started and get that construction done and get some staffing out in our northwest side of town. So so with that, I just mentioned, like I said, the dates, and thank you for consideration.
Thank you. So just in summary, increasing the fire fees, 2.3 million, decreasing the fire fees, almost 400,000. Based on what's up there on the screen, so. Happy to back up a couple slides if you want to walk through it.
In our budget, we just talked about Micron and how much money they could be throwing into the fire police. That's really not been budgeted in our future budgets yet, though, correct?
True, and one thing that was a takeaway, I think, for all of us during the 2022 update is, given kind of how dynamic the construction industry is here and growth, it probably makes sense not to wait till the tail end of that 5-year window to revisit things again. Just because, again, we didn't have the modern zoning code, and we don't know how that's going to impact growth and where that growth is going to happen. Micron has obviously new news since then, and then obviously costs will continue to change too. So getting those updates would be better to do rather than having these huge step function changes every 5 years.
Especially when big projects hit like that, come and great impact to us.
It's sorry to put you on the spot, but isn't Parks looking at their comp plan in the next couple of years?
We are, we have a comprehensive plan that's meant to be a 10-year life cycle. It is 5 years out of that cycle. We're looking at a refreshment of our comprehensive plan. Will be much more truncated. It'll be a 5-year window of vision, I guess you should say. And it'll be more in line with a strategic plan rather than a comprehensive plan that's identifying specifically where tennis courts should go or where we need more soccer fields. It'll be more of a alignment with the goals and initiatives that are driving broadly our decisions around parks and facilities, like the 10-minute walk initiative, like America the Beautiful, and some of the other guidance initiatives that mayor and council have put together. So yes, but it'll look a little different.
And so the only reason I brought that up is it might make sense on the tail end of that, depending on the exact timing, start to brush off our impact fee plan and see if, doing an interim update, even though it'd be before the mandated 5 years, would be a good idea. Because I think we all remember from going going through it in 22, like that was a lot of lifting, and if we could just do a little update,
Yeah,
that would be highly preferable in my book.
totally.
As of where we sit right now, we were just talking about this earlier today, we plan to initiate that effort in this fiscal year and complete it in next fiscal year.
That's maybe what the 26 update.
So you're. We should be reviewing. Yeah.
But to be honest,
We have to.
to be honest, you know, the building blocks of what we're planning to do are all in place already. So if you wanted to initiate a review earlier, we could prior to our new strategic plan being finalized, because there's not a ton of new information, it's just a matter of compiling existing information.
I know one of the things too that I've talked with Public Works and planning about is the compass estimates that we use versus like, do those reflect the modern zoning code and, you know, new developments like that. So I think part of it is making sure that the population estimates are updated.
I move we approve the Fire Station 13 budget changes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
So we'll get it done for my.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta go too.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah. Motion passes. Now we'll leave one more final motion for adjournment.
We adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, we're adjourned at
Awesome.
Good job.
1:05.